students. Today we are going to start chapter number 10, Wave Optics. Now, students, we have already studied about ray optics and also understood the nature of light with the help of various phenomena. In ray optics, we used geometry, that is, simply by showing the straight lines to understand the reflection and refraction phenomena. Now, topic number 10.1, Introduction. Students, ray optics, or we can call geometric optics, has some limitations in explaining certain optical phenomena such as interference, diffraction, polarization, etc. But this can be explained with the help of wave optics. Now, what is this interference, diffraction, and polarization that we'll study in the coming topics of this chapter? Now, a scientist named Descartes gave the corpuscular model of light and explained reflection and refraction of light. Students, corpuscular model means in this model, light is considered as made up of particles. So, light considering the particle, this reflection and refraction phenomena are explained. This model of light was further developed by Isaac Newton in his book named Optics. And so, this model is believed to be given by Newton. So, students, actually, this corpuscular model was given by Descartes, but this theory was properly developed by Newton, and so it is believed that this model of corpuscular theory is given by Newton. Huygens put forward the wave theory of light. So, this Newton said that light is made up of some particles, but Huygens said that light is a wave and not a particle. So, Huygens put forward the wave theory of light. Now, according to wave theory of light, speed of light decreases when it bends towards the normal. We know that when light enters from rarer medium to denser medium, it will bend towards the normal, as well as its speed will decrease. So, actually, this was in contradiction to that of the corpuscular model of light. According to Newton, in his model of corpuscular, when the light bends towards the normal, its speed increases. But here Huygens says that when it bends, that is, light bends towards the normal, then its speed decreases. So there was a contradiction. But actually, we know that when light bends towards the normal, speed decreases. And so the corpuscular model of Newton was failed. Now, Huygens' theory wave theory was not accepted earlier, but from the experiment of Foucault, the theory of light was confirmed, and it showed that the speed of light in water is less than that in air. Foucault experimentally showed that speed of light decreases when it moves from air to water. And so this is the confirmation of the wave theory given by Huygens. Thomas Young performed his famous interference experiment, and it was firmly established that light is indeed a wave phenomena. So actually Foucault has given the confirmation, but still there was some confusion. But after the experiment of Young, it was firmly established that light is a wave phenomena and not the corpuscular phenomena given by Newton or Descartes. Now, the only major difficulty in establishing wave theory of light was that a wave required a medium for its propagation. Students, we have studied in 11th standard that the waves, they require some medium for its propagation. We know that waves on water, it requires medium as water. Sound waves, they require air as a medium. So any wave requires some medium for its propagation. That was a belief. So Newton and other scientists, they have a question that how could light waves propagate through vacuum, because we know that light passes through the vacuum also, but they believed that waves, they require some medium for their propagation, and so there was a question mark about light to be a wave, because light propagates in a vacuum also. But this was explained when Maxwell put forward his famous electromagnetic theory of light. Now students, we already studied about Maxwell and his electromagnetic theory. So when Maxwell gave his theory, then it was confirmed that light can travel in a vacuum also, and it is a non-mechanical transverse wave. Non-mechanical means the waves which do not require any medium for their propagation, and the mechanical waves are those waves which require some medium for their propagation. So Maxwell explained that for the propagation of electromagnetic waves, medium is not required because they propagate due to changing electric and magnetic fields, and light is an electromagnetic waves, and so even light can propagate through vacuum. Now about Huygens principle. Before we start Huygens principle, let us understand what are wave fronts. Now students, we all know that if a string tied at one end, and if it is stretched from the other end, suppose this end is O, and if some disturbance is given at this point O, and due to that disturbance, suppose a crest is formed, means the situation is like this. Suppose by giving disturbance, this type of crest is formed. Due to that, what happens? Now this crest which is formed here, it will move further and it will reach to this end. So here we call this as a propagation of a wave. Now suppose four strings, they were tied at these points. Suppose these points are P, Q, R and S, and these are the strings which are kept stretched. Now suppose at these ends, if the disturbance are given, and due to that what happens, a crest is formed at these ends. So you can see if we join these points, then the shape formed due to joining these points is a plane shape, a rectangular. So here we can say that a wavefront of the shape of rectangle is formed. Now after some time, each and every disturbance which are created, they will proceed, and after some time, suppose the disturbance of first wave reached here at this point, so second will be here, third will be here, and fourth will be here. So once again, if you join these points, you will find the shape was as that which was produced earlier. So we can say that here this wave front is moving towards the support. Suppose here there is a support, there is a wall where these strings are tied. So this is called wave front. So it is a shape which is formed where the disturbance is created, and that shape will move further. So now let us define a wavefront. An imaginary surface passing through particles oscillating with same phase is known as a wavefront. That is, a wavefront is defined as a surface of constant phase. Now here, as shown in figure, if we have a point source emitting waves uniformly in all direction, you can see in figure here there is a point source. Suppose there is a source of light, then we know that it will emit waves in all the directions. And so the locus of the points which have the same amplitude and vibrate in the same phase are spheres, and we have what is known as the spherical waves. Locus means after connecting the points, whatever the figure which we get, that is called a locus, or the location of the points. So here also, if we say from the point source, suppose in all the directions the waves are emitted, so suppose after some time one wave which is in this direction is reached here at this point, so another waves which is moving in this direction will definitely reach at this point, another wave will reach at this point in the same time, and so on. So If we join all these points, then we get a sphere. In 3 dimension, we get a shape of a sphere. Here in 2 dimension, it looks like circle. But actually in 3 dimension, when we join all the points, then we get a sphere. And so we obtain a spherical waves. Once again, when the points they reached here, the waves when they reached here after again some small time interval, suppose if it is reached here, the next wave will reach here, the next will here. So once again we will get a sphere after joining all that points for same time interval. So we get a spherical waves in this way for a point source. Now students, remember that at a large distances from the source, a small portion of the sphere can be considered as a plane. Students, if you take a very large sphere and from that large sphere if you cut a very small portion, then that portion will always look like a plane. So at a large distance, all the waves they are plane waves. Students, we also know that the rays coming from a far away object, that is suppose from a star, if the light is coming from a star, that means that when were emitted from the stars, they were spherical in nature, the wave fronts were spherical in nature. But at a large distance, suppose the rays are coming to the earth, then that rays will form a plane surface because it is a part of a spherical wavefront and it is a plane only. So here you can see this type of figure is formed because the waves are coming from the far away source, and if we join all the points we get a plane surfaces which are known as plane wavefront or plane waves. Now students, if we know the shape of the wavefront at time t is equal to 0, then Huygens principle allows us to determine the shape of the wavefront at a later time tau. Means if initial wavefront is known to us, that is at time t is equal to 0, that what is the shape of the wavefront initially at this time t is equal to 0, if that is known, then after a very small time interval tau, we can get the information about the wavefront at this time. Now, according to Huygens principle, each point of the wavefront is the source of the secondary disturbance, and the wavelets, remember these words, wavelets, and the wavelets emanating from these points spread out in all directions with the same speed of the wave. These wavelets emanating from the wavefronts are usually referred to as a secondary wavelets. And if we draw a common tangent to all these spheres, we obtain the new position of the wavefront at a later time. Means you can see in this figure, suppose this is a point source and the waves are emitting from this point source, and we know that waves will emit in all the directions, in this direction, in this direction, in this direction, and so on. Suppose the waves which are emitted from the source, after some time it has reached here, so second wave will reach at point A, third will reach at point this, So these are the waves which are reached at these points after some time interval. Now what happens, these waves which have reached here, even that will behave as a secondary source. Actually, which is the initial source? This O is the source, but these points, they will also behave as a secondary sources, and even they will emit a light. And so here, after some time interval, once again after some time interval, how much time? Tau, a small time interval tau. In forward direction, we will get this wave, and at the same time interval in reverse direction, we will get this wave. So actually it is a sphere only. So here also we will get a spherical waves emitting from this point A. From this point we will get this sphere, and these are known as wavelets. And students, if we draw the tangents to all these circles, and if we join these tangents, then once again we will get a sphere. In 3 dimension we will get a sphere, and so we will get a shape and the position of the new wavefront. So we can give the statement of this Huygens in another form as: every point or a particle of a wavefront behaves as an independent secondary source. Every point or a particle on a wavefront behaves as an independent secondary source. Students, you can see this is the wavefront obtained due to this point source. So on this wavefront, if we take these points, then these points, they will behave as an independent secondary source, and they itself emit light or waves. And so next here it is written that, and emit by itself secondary spherical waves. You can see these points on the wavefront, they will emit a secondary spherical waves by itself. After a very small time interval, the surface tangent to all such secondary spherical wavelets give the position and shape of a new wavefront. So you can see here, these are the wavelets, spherical wavelets emitted from these secondary sources. And if we draw the tangent, all the tangents of this spherical wavelets, and if we join these tangents, then we'll get a shape of a new wavefront, which is again a spherical in shape. So now students, as shown in figure, let us consider a diverging wave, and let f1 f2 represents a position of the spherical wavefront at time t is equal to 0. Divergent means waves which are moving away. You can see these waves are moving away, and initially we have considered this wavefront f1 f2. Now to determine the shape of the wavefront at time t is equal to tau, we draw spheres of radius v into tau. Why radius v into tau? It is because we know that distance traveled is velocity into time. So here this v into tau is nothing but is distance traveled. So here suppose from this point this much is the distance traveled, that is v tau. So from this point also that much distance will be traveled. From this point also that much distance will be traveled. So we'll get such points after small time interval. And with this we can draw spheres. With this distance, which is nothing but the radius, we can draw spheres. And so if a common tangent to all these spheres are drawn, these are the common tangential points. So if we join that points, the new position of the wavefront at time t is equal to tau is obtained. The new wavefront shown by G1, G2. You can see here. This is G1 and this is G2. So this is a new wavefront. This was initial wavefront. And so this wavefront G1, G2 is again a spherical with point O as the center. Now students, we have considered these points of tangent towards the forward direction in this direction. But we know this point source will emit the waves in all the direction. So we can consider in the reverse direction also. So in the reverse direction, when we join these points, again we get a sphere only. But actually we get the intensity of light in the forward direction. We do not get any intensity in the reverse direction. It is because all these waves in a reverse direction, they will cancel each other. Their vector addition will be 0. So the intensity is always obtained in the forward direction. Now students, from the wavefront f1, f2, light propagates in both the forward and backward direction, as I explained. In backward direction we get a wavefront d1, d2, which I have shown here. In backward direction we get this wavefront d1 and d2. Now Huygens argued that the amplitude of the secondary wavelets is maximum in the forward direction and 0 in the backward direction, making some ad hoc assumptions, means some different types of explanation or some assumptions he has made which do not have any theoretical proof. So here he has made some ad hoc assumptions to show that. Huygens principle can be used to determine the shape of the wavefront for a plane wave propagating through a medium. Students, here we have considered a point source and we get a spherical wavefronts. But if we consider a linear source, suppose this is a linear source like a tube light, so we know that the waves will emit in all the direction and after some time we'll get a shape of a cylinder. So from a linear source we get a cylindrical wavefront, and so suppose from such type of linear source in this direction, after some time we'll get these points, and if we take again a small interval tau, then these waves will reach here. You can see these are the wavelets shown here, and if we join the tangent to these wavelets, then we'll get once again a new shape and the position of a wavefront. So in a similar way we can explain this as we explained for the spherical wavefronts. Now topic number 10.3, refraction and reflection of plane waves using Huygens principle. In this, first we will study about the refraction of a plane wave. Students, we have already studied the phenomena of refraction in a ray optics with the help of ray diagram. Now here you can see there are two mediums. This is medium 1, suppose air, and this is second medium, suppose glass or water. So here this n1 and n2 are the refractive indices of both the mediums. Now in figure, a plane wave AB is incident at an angle I on the surface PP dash. This PP dash separates both the mediums 1 and 2. Let us see this in the figure. You can see this is a plane wave which incident at this line separating two medium. You can see the angle made by this incident wave is I, and we know that always that angle is measured with respect to normal. So here this AB is an incident wavefront. Now what happens when this ray enters the second medium? Its velocity decreases, and still this point B is in the first medium only. This wave from point A, it has entered the second medium, but still this point B is outside, and it will now incident at point C. Now students, if we take same time for A as well as for point B, then suppose the wave which was at point A, it will reach at this point in time interval tau. In the same time, this wave has reached a point C. But you can see the distance covered by this wave which was at point A is less, and this distance is large. So for the same time interval, the distances are different because the speeds of wave are different. Here at point A, when the wave is moving inside the second medium, its speed decreases, and here still the speed is same because it is in the first medium only, the wave which is coming from B. Now the plane wave undergoes refraction, and CE represents the refracted wavefront. So this AB is the incident wavefront, and after time interval tau, this CE is the refracted wavefront. Now students, we know that this wavefront moves from air to water, and so velocity v2 which is inside this second medium, which is denser, will be less than the velocity v1 which is in the air, that is in the first medium, and so the refracted wave bends towards the normal, which can be seen in the figure also. So here you can see in this figure, this is the incident angle and this is the angle of refraction denoted by R. Now students, you can see if this angle is I, then this angle will be also I. Geometrically we can show this. Also, if this angle is R, then even this angle will be also R, and that also can be shown geometrically. That is not difficult to show that if this is R, then this is also R. Now, if tau is the time taken by the wavefront to travel the distances BC and AE in the medium 1 and 2 respectively, you can see this is the distance BC and this is the distance AE in first medium, this is in the second medium. Then that distance is nothing but it is velocity into time. So here also you can see it is v into tau. So for BC it is v1 tau, because BC is this and here the velocity is v1. For AE it is v2 into tau. Here the speed or the velocity is v2, but time interval is taken same. I have mentioned here that v1 and v2 are the speed of light in medium 1 and 2 respectively. Now students, in triangle ABC and AEC, see in this figure, in triangle ABC and ACE, in both this triangle this AC is common. If we take sine of I, then we will get BC upon AC. You can see for this upper triangle, as it is a right angle triangle, sine I is equal to opposite upon hypotenuse. Opposite is BC and hypotenuse is AC. So I have written BC upon AC. But what is BC? BC is the distance and that distance is V1 tau. So we have written here AC as it is. Similarly for triangle AEC, sin R is equal to AE upon AC. Look here in this triangle. In this triangle, this angle is 90 degree. So with respect to this angle R, this is opposite and this is hypotenuse. So it is AE upon AC. Now what is AE? AE is V2 tau. So we have kept that AC as it is. You can see AC is common for both this. Now let us give these equations number 2 and 3. Now taking the ratio of these equations 2 and 3, on left side we will get sin I upon sin R, and on right side this term upon this term. But in both the terms AC, which was common, will cancel. So what will remain in numerator? V1 tau, and in numerator V2 tau. But even tau is common, so cancel out. So we get V1 upon V2. So I have written this sin I upon sin R is equal to V1 upon V2. Let us give this equation number 4. Now refractive index of medium 1. Students, we have already studied in chapter number 9. Refractive index of medium 1 is denoted by N1, and that is C upon V1. That is speed of light in vacuum upon speed of light in this medium 1. Similarly, for second medium, N2 is equal to C upon V2. Now taking ratio of N2 and N1, we will get N2 upon N1 is equal to CV2 upon CV1. That is here. Now here this CC will cancel and you will get V1 upon V2. So N2 upon N1 is equal to V1 upon V2. Now students, simply what you have to do? You have to compare these two equations. You can see here also V1 upon V2, here also V1 upon V2. So we can write sin I upon sin R is equal to N2 upon N1 is equal to V1 upon V2. So we get this relation. Now if we cross multiply this, then we'll get n1 sin I is equal to n2 sin R, which is nothing but the Snell's law. Students, we have already studied Snell's law in chapter number 9, ray optics. So I hope you understood about this refraction of waves on the basis of wavefront, that is Huygens principle. Using Huygens principle we have obtained this Snell's law. So students, here we studied refraction of a plane wave from rarer medium to denser medium. Similarly, we can explain for refraction of a plane wave from denser medium to rarer medium. In this case, what happens when the ray travels from a denser medium to rarer medium? The angle of refraction is greater than that of angle of incident. And also the speed of light in this rarer medium will be greater than the speed of light in this denser medium. Now, reflection of plane wave by a plane surface. Now, as shown in figure, this surface Mn is a reflecting surface. Let it is a plane mirror. An incident wavefront AB is shown here. Now, this point A is incident first, and then it is reflected and reaches at point E. Let the time taken is tau. In the same time, this point B of the wavefront will reach at point C. So time taken is same. Also, from the geometry of the figure, you can see for this triangle and for this triangle, it is clear that from the similarity that distance BC is equal to distance AE. And so this CE is a reflected wavefront. Also, this angle of incident will be equal to the angle of reflection. So students, no more explanation is required for this. So it is clear that AE is equal to BC is equal to V into tau. And so I is equal to R from the similarity or the congruence of this triangle. These two triangles are congruent to each other. And so the law of reflection is obeyed. Now students, here to understand the refraction and reflection by prism, convex lens and concave mirror, these figures are shown. In all the cases, the important thing is speed and the distance traveled by the rays or the wavefront in a medium is important. Students, you can see in this figure that when a plane wavefront is incident on this surface of a prism, what happens? This ray has to travel less distance inside the prism and this ray has to travel more distance inside the prism. And so what happens? Distance covered by this ray will be more and this ray will be less. And so the emergent wavefront, that is this wavefront, will be like this. It will bend. So plane wavefront is vertical and the reflected wave front is little slanting or bent. Similarly, for convex lens, you can see this is an incident plane wave. After refraction, it will take the shape of circle. That is, it will become spherical in 3 dimension. So plane wavefront will become a spherical wavefront. And we know that sphere has a center. And so this is nothing but it is the focal length, and F can be considered as a center. For mirror, this is a mirror. A plane wavefront is incident, and after reflection, this wavefront takes the shape of sphere. In 2 dimension you can see this as a circle, but actually in 3 dimension it is a spherical with focus at this point. Now students, remember one thing, that this point F is the center of this wavefront and not this curved part of a mirror. Now students, about Doppler's effect. Doppler effect is experienced if the source or the observer is moving towards or away from each other. Now students, this Doppler's effect you have already studied in 11th standard, but that we have studied for sound waves. Here we are going to study the Doppler's effect for light waves. Concept is similar. Formula is also similar. Here an example is given. If there is no medium and the source moves away from the observer, the successive wavefronts have to travel a greater distance to reach the observer and hence will take longer time. That means, suppose if we are on the earth at this point and there is a star. Now what happens? The star emits the light waves and it reaches the observer. So its frequency will remain same if the star or the observer they are stationary. But what happens if the star is moving away from the observer or if it is moving towards the observer? In that case, the frequency observed or experienced by this observer will be different. If the star is moving away, then wavelength experienced by observer will increase and so frequency decreases. And if the star is moving towards the observer, then wavelength experienced by this observer will decrease and so the frequency increases. So students, once again, if there is no medium and the source is moving away from the observer, then the successive wavefronts have to travel greater distance to reach the observer, and hence it will take longer time. That means first wave will reach the observer, then the second wave which is reaching the observer will take much more time, then third wave which is reaching to the observer will take still more time. So that time interval go on increasing if the source is moving away from the observer. So successive time difference will be in increasing order. So students, it is clear that when the source is moving away from the observer, frequency measured or observed by the observer will be smaller. Here it is printing mistake. In place of source it is observer. So this is the explanation of Doppler's effect. Now students, astronomers call this increase in wavelength or decrease in the frequency. We know that if the wavelength increases, frequency decreases because they are inversely proportional to each other. So decrease in the frequency or increase in the wavelength is called redshift. Students, we know that red color light has the longest wavelength, and so if the wavelength increases, then we can say that it shifts towards the red side. Since the wavelength in the middle of the visible region of the spectrum moves towards the red end of the spectrum, this is referred as a redshift. Now students, opposite to this, if the waves are received from a source moving towards the observer, there is an apparent decrease in the wavelength, and this is referred as a blue shift, because blue color light in a spectrum, blue color has a least wavelength for a visible region. Now students, remember this formula. For velocities small compared to the speed of light, fractional change in the frequency, here this symbol nu is the symbol for frequency. So change in frequency upon original frequency is called a fractional change in the frequency, is equal to speed of source upon speed of light. So here a radial velocity or radial speed is considered, because we know that if this is the observer and if this is a star, then if it is moving away or moving towards, then it is along the radius of this circle with center as the observer. So this velocity is called radial velocity. So actually it is a speed of the source which emits the light. Now students, here this negative sign is because of use of sign convention. Now if the radial velocity is positive, then that means source moves away from the observer. And if the radial velocity is obtained to be negative, then that means the source is moving towards the observer. Students, Doppler's effect for light is very important in astronomy. It is the basis for the measurement of the radial velocities of distant galaxies. Means if some galaxy is moving away from us or if it is moving towards us, that can be detected with the help of Doppler's effect. Now, example number 10.1. Here in this example, given that a galaxy is moving with respect to Earth. Earth means observer. Its wavelength experienced are 589 nanometer and 589.6 nanometer. So you can see that initial wavelength is less and this final wavelength is little more. So wavelength is increasing. If wavelength increases, then frequency will decrease. Here we want to find the radial velocity of this galaxy. So now students, we have this formula that V radial upon C is equal to minus delta nu by nu. Now as we know that lambda nu is equal to C. So if we convert this fractional change of frequency to the fractional change in wavelength, then it will become delta lambda by lambda. You can see this negative sign is removed. Why? Because this frequency and lambda, they are inversely proportional to each other. So if we take the difference of this delta lambda, then that will be negative. So negative into this, already minus is there, so that will become plus. So in short, we have converted this fractional change in frequency to fractional change in wavelength. It is because the wavelengths are given. Now just make the subject V radial. This C will come here. So C into delta lambda by lambda. C is nothing but is speed of light in vacuum, which is 3 into 10 raised to 8, and change in wavelength is 0.6. You can see here, this minus this, you will get 0.6 upon initial wavelength, which is 589. Now students, here the units are given in nanometer and we have not converted that into meter. It is because here it is the ratio of the wavelengths, so no need to convert from nanometer to meter. If you will convert, then also you will get the same result. Now calculating this, you will get 3.06 into 10 raised to 5 meter per second. This can also be written as 306 kilometer per second. So radial velocity is obtained to be 306 kilometer per second and it is positive. And positive means the galaxy is moving away from the observer. So here I have already given that if V radial is positive, then the source is moving away, and here the source is galaxy. Galaxy emits the light waves. So it is moving away from the observer. Now students, example number 10.2 is based on knowledge and understanding of the topics which we have studied.